Welcome to Alt in the Dark, an alternative podcast made by the community for the community. I'm your host, Mixie, and this is the first episode, everyone. I'm going to actually just pass the phone to our guests because we have some people on here, starting with Alex.
Hey everybody, my name is Alex Post. I'm an audio engineer living in New Jersey, and I'm part of a couple communities, one being the punk community and the nerd or geek community.
Alright, I am Hayden. I'm 21, my pronouns are he, they. I honestly, in terms of music, I'm more emo, but I'm getting involved in sort of the goth community and just the events I've been going to.
So today's episode, we're talking about how we started out in the Gateway Inn, as well as giving you guys advice on how to join these communities. So to start off the topic, I want to talk about how we started out. So how did you guys join the community or even heard about the communities?
It's a really good question. I started out, in a suburb of New Jersey, and not really fitting in with a lot of the other kids. I would say that I was on the lower end of middle class, so maybe I couldn't go out to ski resorts some of the rest of the kids. So I had to kind of figure out some things on my own. I was able to get a Game Boy and PS2. One of the first games that I picked up was Tony Hawk's American Wasteland, and that had some punk classics on there, and that hit me. So I started getting really into punk, and then I noticed that there were a couple of cool local guys that made some bands like Jerry Only, Glenn Danzig, and Misfits. And I also heard of My Chemical Romance. They were also part of that soundtrack. So Misfits are from Lodi here, and MCR, they're from Belleville. And in fact, just this past August, I saw the mayor of Belleville gave them the key to the city. The very first one, by the way.
What?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah. They held a sold out show at MetLife Center, and Mayor Belleville just showed up unannounced, said a bit about how they're living legends, and everyone just went wild. It was a crazy night. So don't forget that.
That's so cool, actually.
So it was kind of my foray into punk. So that MCR and Green Day, and I got into some heavier stuff like Grievous Bodily Harm, Dead Boys, going way back, and then those brought me out to listening to Nine Inch Nails. Tony Hawk's a big fan of Nine Inch Nails, which got me into a lot of more alternative music, and that got me onto the goth side, learning about how he would listen to David Bowie and how he would listen to Bauhaus and The Cure. And I've just been a great big fan of music, and I've enjoyed lots of different genres. But I kind of always bring myself back to this punk DIY scene, the metal scene. And lately I'm enjoying a lot of things. Right now I'm wearing a shirt by Lorna Shore. It's this great one. They did this collaboration with Invader Zim.
Oh, that's actually so sick. That looks so cool, actually.
Oh, I love Gurr.
They're a local band too. So yeah, just enjoying the scene, just as a casual enjoyer. Mostly my days, I would say I'm more involved in the nerd scene. I'm always reading up on consumer electronics and technology, because I really like that stuff. I like building my own computer. I've done that for a while. Listen to creators on the internet talk about everything except for AI. I'm really having a grudge against AI. It's seeming to want to encroach on human creativity space. It's about me in a nutshell.
It is so cool. I remember not too long ago, Mike was talking to me about how you went to a bunch of shows recently, or you are going to shows.
Last year, I went to just a whole bunch. Pantera. So Yeah, that's my happy place. I think live music is like, one of the pinnacles of things that people can do. And there's just a unique sort of energy that you get at a crowd, at a show. We're all there for one purpose. We're here to hear our favorite music, pump each other up, and have a good time. And yeah, I think humanity revolves around that.
Definitely. Music's definitely one of the most like human things that we have. It's such a lovely thing. I'm gonna segue over into my answer a little bit, but I actually first really got into like my like emo music. I was about 5th grade. My best friend was like, okay, there's this album, Welcome to the Black Parade, you have to listen to it. You have to. When you get home, that's what you're doing. I'm like, aye. And it had already been out for years, but like, listen, I listened to it and my life has changed. My mom also loved like Panic at the Disco, so it was Panic at the Disco, it was Fall Out Boy, and My Chemical Romance were the main ones. And then when 21 Pilots came out, that was huge, mostly with my brother, and then eventually started getting into just regular like alternative. I said like a Jimmy Eat World, Weezer, and then slowly got into like Pierce the Veil, 3 Days Grace, that type of stuff. I really wanted to get more into like the punk scene just because I feel my beliefs were more punk. Especially when I was about like 16 and I started being more aware of everything. I wanted to get more into the punk scene. However, my favorite music will always be emo music. Having to listen to goth music and more punk music and everything else. I love emo music. I love pop punk. It's my favorite. But yeah. First getting into like the scene though, that was all mixy. I was still under 21 and I hadn't really found any events to go to that were open to people under 20. It was very hard to find something 18 plus. So when Mixie came to me about Bats in the Attic, that was really what got me going places, because it's a place where it was 18 plus, so I could go. Finally started meeting more people and going like, wow, this is actually really cool. But yeah.
Speaking of
Slowly
Bats in
getting
the
there.
Attic. Speaking of Bats in the
What's
Attic.
Bats in the Attic about? Is it like, is it like an active kind of place, more of a chill sort of place? You said it was at a coffee shop. Which coffee shop?
Bats in the Attic is at a coffee shop called Jared's Tea and Coffee Gallery. I want to say that's the correct wording. It's kind of weird.
I think that's right.
Fun fact, they used to be in downtown Mesa on like this strip for the longest time. And then something happened. I don't know what happened, but they ended up having to move. And so they found a historical house, which is where it's taken place at. They found a historical house that was haunted. And so they decided to move their stuff there. And two of my friends actually run Bats in the Attic, and that's Tammy and Troy. And they talked to Jared and was like, hey, let's host a goth night there. And they did. And the rest is history.
Awesome.
As someone who's gone to a few more of those, just because I live in Arizona, basically, it's from 9 to 2 a.m. They have vendors there, usually a couple, just like local vendors. You go, you buy stuff. On the inside of the coffee shop, because it's an old house, that's where you've got the music playing. And then the outdoor area, there's some other seating. That's my favorite place to go and just talk to people, meet people. It's fantastic. And then you've got the vendors kind of everywhere. Each vendor has a little bucket and they do a raffle. So you put in your ticket with admission, it's $5 cover. You get 2 tickets. You can buy more if you want, but yeah, choose what you raffle. And at midnight, they call a raffle. So each vendor is going to have their own thing that they give away that time.
Oh, fun.
But yeah, it's lovely. I've gone to most of them. It's great for just hanging out and meeting people.
Great.
When I flew back to Arizona for the winter break, I actually ended up going to Bats in the Attic, and one thing that stood out to me was the little fire pit and meeting people there at that fire pit, because it's not a closed off space, but it's like a little corner where there's a fire.
More secluded.
Yeah, and you get to have more interpersonal deep talks with people. And I actually had thought about it. And out here in New Jersey, I am just going to compare the scenes real quick. Out here, I've been to QXTs a few times, and one thing I noticed is there's not a secluded place to just meet people. It is 3 dance floors, and it's dance. And out here in New Jersey, it is way too cold to be standing outside and talking to people in the smoke area. And it sucks because every time I've gone, I have not made friends. And I'm like, Urgh. But every time I've gone to Bats in the Attic, I come home with like 15 new friends.
I see. Yeah. Really depends on where you go around here. I think we're really more club focused. You know, it's just a state and area. Heck, we're famous for our clubs. You know, if you go, you know, into the house space, you know, we have like a certain Jersey club sound. There's a whole festival of that actually in Weequahic Park in Newark. They have one every September. Yeah. But yeah, so that, you know, that's bled over into the goth space and the alt space as well. And we're more focused on, say, you know, if you're in North Jersey, you're really focused in New York City. If you're in South Jersey, you're more focused on Philly, and that's where you kind of find the clubs, the event spaces. But you know, also you kind of get that gloominess that goths crave, you know, in the summer nights in New York City, and also the fall nights. In winter, it gets just too cold for everybody. Yeah, I think you'd have to get more out to Brooklyn or something like that to, you know, really see some, like, you know, more underground spaces. Is what they do, and secret parties and less kind of established places. But QXTs around us, around Newark, is definitely, like, you know, the home spot. And it's been around since 1990. So that's a good 30 years and still going strong. And it's a great place. It's actually been featured in Terrifier 2. If you're in the horror scene, it was part of like the party scene that they had there. And they have this really cool medieval stone looking column that's just it's kind of a centerpiece of their dance floor. And I noticed that, and I was just like, oh, I know exactly where they are.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the filmmakers, Damien and Leone, they're local guys. So if you're into slashers and all that, you know, it's a great movie. If you're not, yeah, but I
went to Silver Screen Horror Con, and it is actually ran by Ice Nine Kills, and they had the directors, they had a bunch of people there. That's actually where I got this from.
How could I forget? They held 2 nights here back in May. And I went to see them.
Oh, you were so lucky.
Both framed and all that. You know, they got the fake blood. Well, maybe it's fake. I'm not sure. But I like that it looks like, you know, an old style movie poster. Because they're all about making songs about movies, at least in this era. And they're really good at it, I gotta say. This one featured Art the Clown in the center.
Ooh,
so,
nice.
He's the main villain of Terrifier, and it's blowing up. It has blown up. I'm proud of them.
Yeah. So I have a question for you, Alex. Since you are a little bit older, this isn't to me make fun, but how has the community differ from when you first joined to now?
It has just gone through changes that I think, you know, every scene will see with time. Back in the day, there were a lot more scene kids. Like there was literally something just called scene, where I'm thinking back to, like, you know, Black Veil Brides, where you would have people like just a full peacock outfits. It was like emo just interspersed with color. You know, sometimes feathers. I remember people that feathered hair, lots of dyes in it. I wasn't part of that. I was kind of more part of, a little bit of like the pop punk group. So I would say, in terms of people though, and our attitudes, we're looking forward to, there was it was a different time. We had like a more progressive president back in 2010, 2011. It looked like, that the punk movement actually did something. And we were sort of regressed back into a more like authoritarian era. So I think that the attitude has changed in the aspect of resisting that. So, it's a little bit darker now. But I would say that the community is closer knit because of that.
Do you think it's falling back to like the roots of what punk started out as originally?
I think it's sort of feeling that way. Yeah. A lot more focused, I would say. A lot more righteous anger.
Yeah.
So echoing back to, those times in the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of oil scares, maybe Cold War was going on. And there's a bit of a Cold War going on now, I believe. So, yeah, I see a lot of similarities, personally.
And then Hayden, since you are still very new, have you seen any difference between the last year or so with when you first joined?
Within the actual community, not really, but I have noticed a difference from like what I've seen as someone under 21 versus the little I've seen since I've turned 21. Just the difference in the spaces you're gonna find. Anywhere that I went was a lot more kid-friendly. And then now there's a lot more kink than I expected. Which I should have expected it, but it's just different. I'm just not used to that being so open, especially now that I've gone to a few, like, queer nights at bars now. Recently went to Stacy's, just about, like, a couple weeks ago. And that was very different for me. I'm finally going to like my first bars and just the biggest thing is just a lot more flirting, a lot more people are just a lot more interested there. It's a lot to navigate as someone who's younger, but people are still just as welcoming. But yeah, not a huge difference otherwise in how what I have been going to has changed.
Yeah. I definitely see that change as someone who was just 21 like a couple years ago, and being 20, because I used to not be able to go to anything at all when I was 20 because Bats in the Attic has not existed yet and there wasn't really goth nights, so I'd go to horror conventions, there's a lot of crossover with a lot of different communities, especially with like horror. Like you will see the crossover. And yeah. But when I turned 21, it was like a whole new world and a whole new space. But now being 23, there has definitely been a lot of changes since. Being in the community, what are things that you've noticed that aren't exactly the greatest or like the negative views of it?
I'm gonna start off with this one. Drama. People knowing everybody, especially like going to a lot of different like places in Mesa and then like Phoenix and that sort of place. You go to a lot of places that are close location wise, and a lot of people know each other and they all have something to say about each other. I've definitely talked to some people and being like, oh, I know that person, like someone going in, and it's just some random thing, and sometimes it's something horrific where I'm like, thanks for telling me, I'll stay away. And sometimes it's just drama. It's just stuff that I don't care about. But I just have noticed within the community, it's just, it might be more with people closer to my age. It's of just warning people of others, even if it's over something small. I'll see that a lot of like different like call outs and such where they might just be personal. But yeah, just a lot of drama.
Yeah, I think I've learned that, if people right off the bat and they warn someone about you and things like that, you gotta maybe sometimes take it with a grain of salt. because they're coming at it from one way and you haven't heard the other person out. But on the other hand, sometimes you get with your gut, right? Maybe they have a point about someone. I don't know. I think one of the negative aspects for, I guess, my community is that there's still kind of a battle in the punk community between people who want to be straight edge and people who don't want to be. Sometimes you will get one or two, it's more rare, but militant straight edge people who just don't want any sort of alcohol near them. And I can understand when some people have had, some issues in their lives with substances, especially, sometimes within their families, and they just want to end it, get it out of, their life. And sometimes that comes to a head when you want to, start a community, keep up with the community, and you want to have some libations around with people, and you want to be accommodating to everybody. But sometimes it can be challenging, especially, you want to bring in, of course, all ages crowd too. A lot of hardcore shows, they were famous for being one of the first sort of all ages sorts of events, at least in the New York area. Starting at nights at the famed CBGBs, which, oh gosh, I wish I could have gone to. I remember actually, I finally, got the wherewithal to finally get down to New York City and have my first night at CBGBs when I was when I was a teenager. But it closed actually that last night because I was so late to the party. It's a famous place. Look it up, youngins. All right, that's where the Ramones started. The Police, Blondie, the Stooges, Dead Boys, Television. Oh my gosh. Anyway, that sort of crowd, that Bowery crowd, they started the New York hardcore scene. And they wanted to have it as an all ages show, or have a lot of all ages shows so that kids could do something, bring them out from the streets. But then there were also bands that were just no, we're going to drink, we're going to party. And there's room for all that too, I believe. Yet handling people who are either, a problem because they drink too much, or a problem because they don't drink and they want no one else around them to drink is a hallmark issue, I'll say, of my community. So just a little forewarning there.
Yeah. I do want to say just a heads up for those who are partaking in anything, including alcohol, to stay safe.
Yeah, it's important to everybody should know their limits. I remember in college, it's a time of testing those limits, and maybe, that is a part of self-discovery for yourself, because everyone is different, actually. Life's a little bit of trial and error, and it's better to be on the safer side than to do something you might regret. And, that being, sometimes you get sick on your stuff, have bad hangovers, have bad reactions. That's never good for anybody. Make sure to try out things with people you trust, because I know that, young people are going to try out some things. So I would say, yeah, be around people you trust.
I'm adding my wisdom. My wisdom is there's no shame in tapping out. As someone who has a very low tolerance for both alcohol and weed, no shame in tapping out. There's nothing fun about greening out or blacking out just because you wanted to keep up with somebody. It's not fun, and it's okay if you have a better time and doing less.
Yeah. What seems like less to someone else may be a lot to you. So, like Alex was saying, know your limits. And I know, when you're younger, you want to test out your limits and stuff like that. So just be wary and do it in safe spaces. You don't have to do it in public. You can do it in your house with a couple of friends who will take care of you.
Best time to do it. Don't do it at your very first bar or a new city.
God, no.
Because you just, You could be. I remember one night, I was walking home and I walked myself right into a pole because I had too much to drink. And I thought to myself, this might be the last time.
Yeah.
I remember
It was for
when
cheap beer, let me tell you.
Yeah. When I
That
first
stuff
moved
stinks.
out to Jersey, I hung out with Alex for the first time, actually. And that night, I was drinking all night, and I've never drank that much. And I ended up, like, blacking out halfway through QXTs. Like, there was a chunk I don't even remember how I got there. But towards the end, I was just, like, I had drinking way too much, and I've never done that before.
I got lucky. My first time was at home. Like, having too much. Blacked out on my 21st birthday with my best friend and my boyfriend, and then my mom and my brother were also there very briefly. They left for work. They left when all three of us were on the ground rolling around telling both my mom and my brother how much we loved them. It was great. I don't remember it, but I've been told that's how it happened.
My favorite times were some stuff called pike juice. I think it was just like, some Sunny D and then equal parts vodka or maybe even Everclear. I don't even remember. It was good. It's good. I love some Sunny D. But then the next day, actually, I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling good. And then I'm just up chucking. And I'm just all over my computer one time.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thanks, Cody.
Well, I hope that in the future that people start looking out for each other, because I know, like, I'm just circling back to, like, all the negativity that we were talking about just a second ago, but I do have hope for the future that we will all be able to hang out in spaces without drama and stuff. I doubt it's going to happen soon, because we're human beings, but,
I mean,
one day.
It's the best time to gossip is like, at the end of the day, you're letting your hair down.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, be nice, sir, to each other. Don't be so catty. Yeah. Maybe just do some slam dancing. Maybe just put on some fear.
So, let's talk about the positives. When joining, did you guys notice anything positive that happened within yourself? Like, not positive, but, like, did it improve your mental health? Did it help you discover who you are? What are some positives?
It gave me my first kind of chosen community where it was. I found people that dug stuff that I dug, and it wasn't just something that was available, like, in the local community center or whatever. It was something that I chose for me. So I think that's personally powerful when you kind of, you find your tribe. And I think we all tend to like that as humans, as tribalist humans, one way or another. We're all just kind of like searching this world, and we find, other people, other beings that look like people. But you want to find the ones that, kind of think like you or have the same sort of like interests as you, same sort of values as you. That's what you find. Affirming some values, and then you also kind of find the things that you like and you don't like about certain spaces. It's an interesting journey. It's a personal one for each of us, I believe. And all in all, I don't think anyone could tell you, what you can and cannot like. That's something for you to decide.
For sure.
I'd say some positives, just like right off the bat. It kind of taught me how to socialize a little bit out in like that type of scene, something beyond maybe like a convention or something. I kind of learned like what I like and what I don't like. I really enjoy the more social bits. I learned that I don't really like dancing, and that's okay. But I also started like exploring more with like how I present myself and how I dress, and I started getting a lot more creative and learning, like, how do I like to be seen by people? How do I like to interact with people? It was just a lot of learning, just because it was things I'd never done before, situations I'd never been in before. The biggest positive, especially going to Bats in the Attic, is just the range of age. Suddenly I am talking to people either my age or years older than me, and it's so cool because we all have something in common. We all had either like some sort of like love of music or something in common, and it's so cool to see like age kind of transcend that a little bit and just find something good to talk about. That was just a really cool thing for me, because I was also around the same time going to community college, and there's also that huge range, but those people didn't have things in common with me like in the community, like at like a goth night or something. That was just really cool for me. I was just getting so many new perspectives that I'd never even thought of.
Yeah. I can definitely relate with that, because a lot of my friends are older, actually. I do have a couple younger ones, but it's nice to be friends with people who have like a range of like perspectives, and not just like perspectives, but also experience, because you'll hear stories upon stories about what goth nights were like back in their day. Maybe that would have been 20 years ago, or back in their day, but it was like 10 years ago. And hearing how it's changed slightly. There is a goth night out in Arizona. It's a little bit controversial going there, but I have heard stories about like what it was like back in the 90s, and I guess it used to be like this really cool spot, but it's changed so much since the 90s.
I wonder if being able to find these places on the internet has really changed the scene.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know the difference. Even being like in my 30s, I still kind of almost don't remember life before the internet. So, and you guys certainly don't. So that's how I kind of found out about a lot of this stuff. I spent a lot of time being a fucking music nerd on Wikipedia. Trevor Curzon, I don't know.
I think it used to be a lot more like you had to know somebody to get you into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or did you guys? No. Did you guys have like record stores?
Oh yeah.
You know,
we still have a couple of record stores. We've got like Bookman sells records. Remember Milano's, but that's more of like a music store in general.
Yeah. FYE.
Yeah, I remember FYE. It was at the Livingston Mall.
I think it's like For Your Entertainment or something.
Yep, that's what it was. Guys, I still have the card somewhere. Well, that's cool. I mean, that is, the first place I remember talking about music. That makes sense. Talking to a clerk who were like, I don't know, I don't really care about what you want to listen to, kid. So my space was Scotty's Records. That was a local chain. They had stuff in like Summit and Madison and Morristown. And that was just a mom and pop store, started by like just a local family, the Scotty family. It was cool. It was really cool to have that growing up, because that kind of like gave me this foothold in an analog world that is still sort of semi here, but also really kind of not. And then into the world of how we're being served up new experiences, new bands, and new artists via an algorithm on Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you like to use. And you can still find really cool stuff that way, but I just think it's not as organic.
Yeah.
But that's a personal opinion. Actually, I still listen to some human DJs from WSOU, Seton Hall's Pirate Radio, they have here in my town. And that's a cool space that I must shout out, because I don't think I know of any other. It's a metal station inside a Christian university, a Catholic one, and I don't think that is true for any other college radio station in the world. So it's pretty unique for us.
That's crazy.
And they've been that way since 1986. So it is very fun to listen to some Job for a Cowboy, Slipknot, death metal, and then on Sunday they have Sunday service.
That's so much fun, actually.
That is a little slice of home for me. So
Right.
shout out to WSOU. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
And that's terrestrial radio, That is, you can, listen on 89.5. And they have real human DJs that sometimes serve up some interesting stuff for me, like Lorna Shore, actually. Heard that band for the first time on there. So, they're really good for a local scene, too.
Yeah. Do you have any advice to people who are, I know we were just talking about this, but to people who are trying to find things in their community, locally, or anything like that?
All right. Well, if you're trying to find your group, I guess you assume you're younger, but maybe that's not always true. Maybe it is you haven't really found your group of people. So, but for younger people, I would say, I don't know, maybe this is a boomerish thing to say, but meet people face to face. Go out and start a chat in your local coffee shop, even if that's a Starbucks or something, because I don't know, maybe we don't have much chains or something like that, but seek out the local stuff in your local city, your local town, because I think that is where the cool community is. Personally, speaking as a DIY punk, we're a DIY community. That means do it yourself. We do things ourselves. We set up the meat locker in Montclair, New Jersey. Longest running DIY space for music and art, going as far back as I can remember. And we had plenty of other places like that, like the Canvas Clash out in Booton, that's not there anymore. But the core community there, is still the same people. So yeah, support your local coffee shop, support your local DIY space, your local art house, movie house. That's where you can find the cool folks.
I'd say just go. I know I've spoken to so many people, especially around my age, that want to go, have a place in mind to go, but won't just go. It's fun if you bring a friend, but even if you don't bring a friend, go and be ready to learn something new. Be ready to see people who aren't the type of people you're used to, especially if this is something you're first getting into. You have to be ready to see something different, and you have to be okay with that. But if you go in with that open mindset, you will meet people. You will find people who share those same values as you. You'll get there, but you just have to go.
Oh, that's true for me. I became a fan of this tabletop game called Warhammer. Okay, hobby shops can be intimidating places, just because it's usually just full of older guys. But we're also here. We're painting monsters and we're throwing dice. But we're really just a bunch of nerds, just a bunch of sweethearts. I mean, we're not gonna bite you, But yeah, it's always good to bring a friend if you feel like you want some. But yeah, it's a good way to make friends. Just bring an open mind.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part. Is just open and ready. I was gonna innuendo, anyways.
I do want to add on to that one. Also online, if you go onto Facebook or Instagram and type in your state and whatever community you want to be a part of, there may not be a lot of posts, but there'll be something, and you can piggyback off of that, and you'll meet someone, or you can reach out to someone you can reach out to the poster, be like, hey, do you know any of more? don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to speak up for yourself, because that's going to be the biggest way that you'll find community.
Yeah. That's a good one.
So, do you guys have any advice to minors who are starting in the community? Because they can't join some of the clubs that we talk about, but what should they do? What can they do?
Right. I think it's particularly really hard for like young Americans in like lots of places that you just can't go to by walking, right? You gotta need a car. And the one thing that's like true for any kid is, probably think of driving if you can even do that. But yeah, maybe focus on maybe getting some sort of independence. Do extra chores around the house, and then your mom and dad might be like, all right, we'll take you out to what you want to get to, or when you're older you can be like, okay, you could take the car, and then and plan from there. If you're in school, maybe start a club.
Ooh, yeah.
Club, right? For anything, your favorite band, maybe you like death metal, Korean pop group, or anime, or a weird time of 15th century boating, and it's a whatever it is. You find that a community is just a group of people talking about a specific thing, and I think that's a good way to start. Start where you're at. And then when you start to get a little older and gain independence, who knows? You might find that you really have a calling to be at a specific place for a specific community somewhere else out in the world. And you would have never have known that if you didn't try.
I would say, especially for minors, saying under 18, for the more costly options, conventions are great for getting to know people, and especially Phoenix Fan Fusion is one of the biggest ones, the biggest one in Arizona. There are so many people you can meet there. There are so many different groups of people. You can find someone that of course is provided you have money for it, but those are great family-friendly places to meet specific people with specific interests. Another one is just going to concerts if you can. If you cannot afford the super expensive ones, find local bands. Start looking into social media. Local bands have very cheap concert tickets. That's something your parents can go with you to and start meeting people there. Another big one, as minors, you gotta be inside more. There's just less places for you to go. Be safe online. Just because somebody has the same interests as you and might be the same age as you, even if they confirm it, be safe online. Just practice everything. I know a lot of you have learned how to be safe online. Just do it. And that's how, just a big part of getting started is just figuring out what you like and going to what you can.
Yeah. I would also chime in and say you don't have to meet people that you meet online.
Yes.
Yeah. It could totally just be some online people. And if you do want to meet up, bring a friend, something like that, and it doesn't have to be an all-day affair.
Yeah. If you're under 18, bring a parent.
Yeah.
Say that.
Yeah. Just have something to do generally for all people together.
Yeah.
That's a good way to, start to see what people are like and then figure people out. I do want to say an aspect of goth scene is that, the fashion can get pretty expensive. I gotta say, I love my Daimonia boots to death, but boy, they were one of the most expensive boots that I've ever bought. So
I agree.
Got any tips for the youngins or general people who are listening in?
Ooh, that's a good question. I know you were just brushing up on the clothes and the fashion. I do want to say you do not have to buy those big brands. In fact, DIY everything. Those are
Yes.
really one of the biggest things that you can do as a punk, as a goth, as an emo, because where they started off, there wasn't those big brands. They were DIYing that stuff.
I just want to add in this right here. This is made out of pop tabs off of soda cans. When I made this, my family didn't even drink soda. I would loot through my friends' trash to find pop tabs. This is completely free. I've worn it for years. I always get compliments on it. It cost me nothing but my dignity. Amen.
Doesn't scratch you or anything?
Oh, God.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, bringing back to DIY, some of my favorite pieces are just like a Hanes shirt that I got, and I'm writing in bands' names with marker. And I can't really wash that because it will get ruined, but it's in my closet. But that's kind of where you start. Then you could just get you just go down to like the thrift store, get another white shirt, and start again if it gets too dingy. But there are always good places to start. Thrifting is always cool too, and also. I'm not too good with a thread and needle, but if you are, that's a good amount of savings there. You can repair your stuff. You can make new stuff. Shout out to Cricut or Crycut.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my wife has one of those, and to make like simple gifts for friends and stuff, it also works on clothing.
Yeah.
Also, if you can afford it, support your local artists, because that's another big thing, is supporting the people around you rather than supporting the bigger corporations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can even just like slip them a couple bucks for like a coffee.
Yeah.
They need it.
Yeah.
And buying local can be sometimes more expensive depending on, but that's because you're actually paying a person for their efforts and you're not paying for a sweatshop. So
it's very true, and they're working on like low inventory and razor thin margin.
And they're more ethical, in my opinion. Yeah. So, just to wrap this up, what is one big advice you wish you heard when you first joined?
Don't try to be the coolest guy in the room. You're not going to be. Just be yourself.
I have a very similar one, and that's nobody cares.
Yeah.
Like, people don't care that much. Like, you're okay. Just go out, have fun, be yourself, dress how you want. Nobody cares. You'll be fine.
Of course. Just know I care about you.
Just, nobody cares if your outfit is the same as last time, and nobody cares if, like, you aren't dressed all the way up to the nines, and that your hair isn't perfect, and that maybe you don't know how to, like, do makeup that well or something along those lines. Like, in terms of your presentation, it doesn't matter. People care about what you have to say and what you do. It's a little bit different.
Oh yeah, that's what I liked about being a little punk kid. I could just gel my hair in weird angles, and that's
that was it. That was peak.
Absolutely. Uber, I'm sure.
I'm going to loop around and go back to supporting small artists. And so this is towards the end of the podcast now. We are going to shout out our favorite artists. So I'm going to have Hayden and Alex start first, and then I will end it off. And yeah.
All right. I particularly like a visual artist, friend Izzy Rodriguez. She goes by Star B Warrior. That's STRB Warrior on Instagram. And also my good buddy Greg Scarlata and his band 100,000. And I'm gonna look. He goes by. Let me see. I think they. You can find them by spelling out 100,000 band. Right?
All right, and somebody who I have not listened to for very long, but I recently met a member of this band called Live Longer, Burn Everything. They're a bit more metal, a bit more screamo, but I was told about some stuff they've got coming up, and I'm really excited. They apparently just got a trumpet and a violin for their screamo band, which, me personally, I love when people mix sounds. So yeah, they're local, in Arizona. That's Live Longer, Burn Everything. But yeah, they're so cool. Just me talking to Trav, one of the members there. He's just such a lovely person, fantastic to talk to. We met on a hike, and he just had a lot of cool views, and I think his music's cool.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Got that down.
I'm gonna get a little emotional, but the people that I'm gonna shout out, I want to just say that these people got me into the goth scene. They were the one who introduced me, and they remembered when I was 20 that there was nowhere to go as a 20-year-old. So they decided to make a goth night that was 18 plus, that didn't just share the interest of music, but they added things like movies and poetry, and they have brunches. All this stuff was created to help people find not just one thing in common, but multiple things in common. And there's a goth night called Bats in the Attic, ran by DJ Tripwire and DJ Tamageddon. We have spoke about them many, many times, but I wanted to shout them out because they have done a lot for the goth community in Arizona. And if you guys do live in Arizona, whoever's listening, I suggest checking it out. It's over at Jared's every fourth Friday, I want to say, of the month. And yeah, you should stop by, give them a hello. They support small artists by having vendors, like small artists set up at their Bats in the Attic. They support small bands as well and have release parties for those bands. And they do everything for the community in Arizona. Very big part of my life. So you should go check them out. They're at Bats in the Attic on Instagram. Just spelled that way.
Sweet.
Okay.
I hear there are a lot of goths in Arizona, at least from you, Mix. What do you think brings them there?
Huh?
You tell me of the big goth scene that's in Arizona. At least in the Phoenix Scottsdale area, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Phoenix just has so much. I know, especially like just the alternative community in Phoenix and the drag scene in Phoenix. It's just a lot of people trying stuff out. It's a huge city, and there's a lot of like area around it, like in terms of like suburbs and such around it. Just so many people.
Yeah, I guess because it's so I guess it's because it's a big city, right? Cosmopolitan.
Yeah. I know I
Sorry, you were
speak a
saying?
lot about the goth community, but there is also a really big punk community. I was going to DIY shows, but it was only, you cannot find the flyers online. It was one of those situations where you have to know a punk to get in.
And just saying, yeah, no, I think like you don't have to age out of this stuff. You know, it's for life. I know it's like, you know, a young person's game to get out there and into the night. But even if you're growing gray hairs, like, you know, still a community of all ages.
Oh yes.
Get out there, everybody.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen people who are like 2 times my age dancing up a storm on that dance floor, and I'm just like, I don't have the energy for that, but you do you, bestie. I don't know how you do it. But with that being said, do you guys have any last words before?
That's aspirational. Let's see. Be good to each other, everybody. Be good people. Set a good example.
Yeah. Let's be kind.
Mm-hmm.
Be yourself. It's the main thing.
I think that's a golden rule, right?
And with that, that's Alts in the Dark. Stay safe, be kind to each other, and don't forget that we are still a community and there is no reason to push one down.
Yep. And one thing I remember from The Outsiders is stay gold, pony boys.